A Way of Life. Hope everybody's having a good weekend so far. Just wanted to come on here to talk a little bit about A Way of Life, my journey, and some of the services that I offer. As a career coach, it is my greatest pleasure to help people find careers that they are passionate about. I think I was 27 when I decided to go to college. After graduating from high school, I graduated with an education in cosmetology and thought I was going to have my own business and never have to go back to school again. Boy, was I wrong. I went back to, I went to college for psych and counseling, and that entire journey was kind of the foundation to this starting this business. It really showed me who I was growing up and kind of how that related to what it is I'm doing today. And really kind of everything that I went through. I was working at that time as a residential counselor for a 2-week inpatient program for the drug and alcohol um, population for people who had their second DUI. And that was kind of the program that they had to go to get their license back. I first started doing that work as a secretary. You know, it was my job to do all the phone calls, the paperwork, to get them through and signed up for the program. Later down the line, I kind of turned into being a residential counselor, which kind of showed me my strength and humility, and adding that to the organization that I had with people, and um, really showed me my personality, like how I make people feel, right? And I had a public speaking class. The teacher was telling us about how she, her life her work as a life coach, which to her at that time was, working with people to show them. She would go to different companies and organizations to find out what were their responsibilities in that job, and kind of what was the mission of the company, to put in place everybody to do what they're good at, so that the company could have a flow and grow, right? And people could have some kind of healthy happiness within that company. Never heard of this before in my life. Don't even know why I thought I could do it, but I thought to myself, that's what I want to do. I began asking questions like, okay, so what kind of classes do I have to take to do that? What school do I have to go to do that? Like, she never really gave me an actual answer, but she said you have to start with getting certified as a life coach. So at that time, after I graduated from my associates, I went to go get my certification as a life coach. And there, the education was very different. I was learning, I was learning really how to be an entrepreneur, right? They were showing me how to work with clients one-on-one, the importance of a 15-minute consultation and assessments. Are they coachable? What services are they looking for? Is it attainable? And kind of the structure on how to do that. And it was very focused around adult learners education, right? And the focus was working with people who had their own businesses, who was trying to find work-life balance within being a business person in everyday life. So I had to structure around and organize around, their time management and kind of what their responsibilities were for their business, and how to structure that throughout their day, and what it meant to them to have personal time, and how much of that time they needed to structure to be able to have some personal time. And that changed everything, right? It was like that one piece that was missing to everything that I had learned up until that point. And bringing all those pieces together really, again, just kind of like adds to everything that I do now. And at that time, I had switched jobs to working at a residential company for teens who either had some mental health or behavioral issues. And I think that was the longest job I had, like, ever in my whole entire life. It taught me what it means to stick to, or what it would take for me to stay in a company or one place for a long period of time. There was just a lot of flexibility within that organization. Like, they really understood that it is hard working with kids. I don't care in what avenue you're working with them. They are just a different group of people. They don't really operate on anything other than their own, whatever that is. So, um, that really actually made me a better mother, to be honest with you. I learned a lot working in that organization on what it takes to allow kids to be free and stop, as parents, like, trying to control your kids and what they want to do. You don't really control them. You just close your eyes really and pray. But really give them the structure to what it is they want to do. But don't tell them no, because I swear, if you tell them no, they'll do exactly what you told them no for. They are a different group of people. And but the flexibility within that job really was more like being an entrepreneur. It really just fueled my personality, my life work balance, right? I really got that hands-on training of what it was like to pick and choose your schedule. I was doing that as I began going into, after finishing my certification as a life coach. I really had to understand from that point, okay, what kind of life coach was I going to be? And how I was going to be different from all the other life coaches in the entire world. So I had to pick a school that was going to give me a creative edge, right? Something that was going to help me bring out my personality and why that's important to the work that I do. So I went to Leslie for my bachelor's in drama therapy, and without even planning it, I had no idea that what I fell into was an opportunity to do the adult learners program, which allowed me to choose all of my own classes. So I had to take your regular basic classes that everybody has to take, but everything else I got to choose on my own. So I took a lot of vocational classes, which was specifically focused around career and how one gets from one job to possibly owning their business. We did a lot of Myers-Briggs assessment tests, but creatively. We did, the psychology around why people choose work, and that whole generational process and the different generations and life that kind of force people in these different fields, and why different fields are irrelevant and, probably non-existent anymore. And so that kind of whole structure and understanding was like really fascinating to me. And then again, I got that creative edge. I took a lot of business classes, and of course I took a lot of drama therapy, play therapy, music therapy, storytelling, and psychodrama. Really kind of opens you up to this spiritual level, right? So I was growing spiritually at this point. I was connecting to the work that I wanted to do in a very different kind of way. So I began to become, more drawn to what I was doing on a daily basis, right? Not just instructing people on that, but actually incorporating all those things that I was learning in my daily life, right? So I wanted to have this kind of perspective when I worked with my clients that said, that was more relatable in a way where I could say, I've walked a mile in your shoes. I'm not only doing this because I went to school and got some fancy education, but I actually did all of this. And granted, for most of the part, I didn't know that that's what I was doing, but once I realized and recognized that that's what I was doing, I changed what kind of music I listened to. Radio stations like talk radio, what kinds of things I was reading. Is it career related? Is it business related? Do I know what's going on in the world? And on top of that, just taking in a lot of the workshops that I did for my own personal life to help me find a job. All that education and everything that I was learning simultaneously at that time, I incorporated into my whole life, which kind of just fueled me even more into what this is that I'm building. So I was able to precisely give somebody an idea when I sat down with them to do a business plan on, what it was I wanted to do and why, right? And on the side of all this was life happening, the craziness that comes with life, personal life things, things that get in your way that stop you from your journey, really make you stop and think. I only just recently discovered that I'm trying to think more now, like things don't happen to me, they happen for me, right? Because every time I went through something or I had some kind of blockage in my life or experienced any kind of negative issue going on in my life, at the end of that tunnel was just another added something, education, experience that I could share while I work one-on-one with my clients. I think towards the end of my bachelor's degree, I got introduced to the prison population. Because I wasn't in a regular program for college, I couldn't do an internship, so I had to volunteer. And I got introduced to doing some volunteer work in the prison. Completely fell in love with that population. Very talented group of people, not to mention all the workshops that they have there for them. I've done all of them. So I was able to take the money and budgeting and finance classes that I taught them and incorporate that into my life. A lot of them couldn't work. Work wasn't their first mode of operation just because it's not something that's easily attainable, So I had to get more creative, and a lot of them started their own businesses. That was their first mode of operation. So I had to understand what it meant to write a business plan, understand how to help somebody cultivate that idea and what it means to them, and maybe even doing some work, smaller steps for the people that it was relevant to, just like I did in my career, taking specific classes that would get you experience as you grew to what it was you actually wanted to do. And in that whole life happening on the side, I got introduced to astrology in a very different kind of way. I had been into astrology since I was at least 15 years old, probably younger than that. I can actually remember speaking about astrology as early as junior high school. I just don't remember how old we were back then. But I know that for a very long time, I was always into astrology. I had gone through something, and at one point I finally picked up the phone and said, okay, I want a reading. I think I started off with psychics because I think that's what was popular at that time. I didn't really know how to make the connection to astrology, right? It kind of found me through the things that I listened to, like when I changed my mode of, talk radio, what kind of things I was listening to, what kind of things I read. And I was like, you know what? I was listening to this radio station. They was like, call me if you want a reading, a birth chart reading to be exact. Now, a birth chart reading is conducive to, it's calculated by your birth day, your birth time, and your birth location. And what this does when you would put this information in a portal, and it would tell you where every planet was in a certain house at a certain degree when you were born. This changed my life. I got this reading, and this lady was able to tell me things that I had never told anybody. And I want to say like 3 months after this specific thing, this specific life experience, at that point I had been kind of studying it here and there, off and on, but not really having any structure around it. But as I grew spiritually, right, what I learned through going to college for my bachelor's degree, my spirituality grew. And I would do more things of the esoteric nature or metaphysic nature, where I was learning, you know, signs and symbols of things, and ancient astrology and ancient history and all these other different avenues that were just a different way to explain things, right? In that process, I was introduced to being able to have the opportunity to become an astrologer. And that almost never crossed my mind. Honestly. That was like something that just popped up out of the blue. Really just a testament to when you follow your passion, when you have a plan, when you ask the right questions. I don't want to say not afraid, because I think at different various places in my life during this journey, I was very afraid. I never really knew why I was doing what I was doing. I was just following my passion. You fall into the things that are meant for you. And what I like most about your birth chart is that shows, and it tells a whole story about your life from beginning to end, really. And with that being said, I think that is the basis to why I structure my business the way that I do. So I do a lot of so some of the services that I offer are career coaching that comes with a resume, cover letter, and job leads. And all job leads is that I'll help you find the different jobs that you want. We'll have a consultation about, what it is you want, and kind of structure around how to get there if you have to do some more education, or what kind of work jobs can you do to get to that bigger goal. And then I do the business coaching. That is pretty much the same thing, and that comes with kind of assessment around some strategies as to what it is you want to do. If you have to take some education and do some work to kind of build to get you where you actually want to be. And then I have this really great opportunity that I've been running into with, or working on really very hard, partnerships. So I have partnerships with a lot of people in different various things. You meet a lot of people when you follow your passion. And I have the great opportunity of working with CWI, who will help you. So you come up with the strategies with me doing your business coaching. And from there, we get you some financial and the actual legal structures and professionalism to starting your business, right? Getting everything on paper. And you have the opportunity to join groups there and really learn and elevate yourself with that education. And then I have a few partnerships with Marriott and Madison Park Management Corporation, and a slew of other ones that I have right now. Just a wealth of knowledge and education from being in the field for so long. You gain a lot of friends. You burn a lot of bridges too, but you live and you learn. And with that comes, so those are the two services that I sell, and with that comes the astrology piece. So attached to the coaching, the career coaching, and the business coaching you'll get astrology readings for both, whichever one you want. And the only thing that's different is you're getting a reading. So those services are a little bit more expensive than your normal business and career coaching. You do not have to have a reading to do your career and business coaching. Those are things that I can do without astrology. I've been doing them without astrology for a while. These are things that I decided to add to make me different from all the other life coaches and career coaches out there. And on top of that, you can get a full moon reading or a new moon reading. I don't do um, I don't do love readings. I'm sticking to career and business. Those are my favorite topics, and recently now finances, and I'm sure I'll grow into that more. You can stay tuned for all the updates that I have by watching the videos, and if you're interested in getting a reading, you can just send me an email or a comment, and I don't know. I think this is something I've been passionate about for a long time, and I look forward to working with you.